There are many common challenges faced in cross-cultural communication. The norms of culture are interpreted differently across the world. Oftentimes, there's missing interpretation of a deeper meaning to the words expressed by those. There are often assumptions of similarities, stereotyping, and preconceptions about different cultures, as well as words can have different meanings to different people across the world. For instance, many cultures find eye contact to be a sign of sincerity, honesty, and assertiveness, while in some cultures this could be perceived as rude or challenging. Hand gestures can be viewed in the same light depending on cultures, while certain regions of the world, simple hand movements could be also viewed as rude or challenging. There are many strategies for overcoming these barriers. First and foremost, try to obtain a basic understanding of the other culture's language. You can consult with speakers of that language to gauge acceptable behaviors and things to avoid. Research is key in this aspect, so be sure to do so. You should be sure to improve active listening skills and ensure you are composed with nonverbal communication. You should go beyond the words somebody may be saying and look for a different meaning of what could be missed. Recognize that certain words may not have the same direct translated meaning to convey an exact point the speaker is trying to make. Avoid drastic tones of voice and excessive body language. In this next section, I will be covering 5 out of the 9 levels that can affect cross-cultural communication. This will include when to talk, what to say, pacing and pausing, listenership, and formality. A big challenge many face is simply finding when the appropriate time to talk actually is. This can include wanting to contribute to a conversation but not knowing when to enter the conversation, trying to find the right time to say something, while waiting for an opportunity to talk. You are often not listening as well as you could be. It's important to wait for natural pauses in conversation, not to interrupt others, and remember key points you'd like to circle back to in the event the conversation is becoming dominated. Simply be patient. Next comes the aspect of what to say. Here, you should encourage the speaker to elaborate on what they are saying. Look to have meaningful contribution to the conversation. You can respond to feelings and note the cues to tie into. Show interest in what they have to say. As our textbook explains, you should consider asking questions that encourage the speaker to elaborate on their experiences. You should provide feedback and ask clarifying questions. Next, we will discuss pacing and pausing. This is where it is crucial as the speaker to ensure a smooth pace which can be easily understood. You should allow natural pauses and afford the listener an opportunity to contribute to the conversation. It is important to avoid long pauses, as this can lead to uncomfortable and awkward silences, which can lead to confusion. I'm sure we have all interacted with somebody once who, once they start beginning talking, you can't get a word in edgewise. When this happens, free dialogue is not able to flow between the speaker and the listener. This can lead to people feeling left out, and it can lead to important points not being retained by the listener. Next, we will discuss listenership. The primary focus as a listener is simple. Your primary focus should be just that, to listen. You should avoid thinking about contributions you'd like to make while the speaker is still speaking. Instead, you should focus on fully receiving and understanding the speaker's message. An article by Communication Theory explains this well, in which they state, to reduce the barriers to cross-cultural communication, one can take the effort to develop one's listening skills. This will ensure that we start hearing the real meaning of what is being said instead of understanding at face value. While communicating with other nations, it is imperative we understand their culture's formalities. For instance, in Saudi Arabia, most Saudis feel comfortable standing in extremely close proximity to one another. It is very common for men to hold hands while walking. However, men generally avoid eye contact with women who are not related to themselves. It is important not to point at people and to keep your hand flat and gesture instead. In Chinese culture, frowning while somebody is speaking is interpreted as a sign of disagreement. Therefore, most Chinese maintain impassive expression while speaking. It is considered disrespectful to stare into another person's eyes in Chinese culture. Most avoid eye contact to give themselves privacy. In German culture, direct eye contact is expected. Physical distance should be at an arm's length, and conversation tends to be more direct and to the point. Lastly, we will discuss the importance of nonverbal communication. This can include hand gestures, posture, facial expressions, and tone of voice. Nonverbal communication is so powerful, it can even have the power to change the perceived message someone is trying to say by negating the true meaning. As the figure shows, when it comes to face-to-face communication, only approximately 7% of a person's understanding of others is attributed to the words they say. However, 38% can be attributed to the verbal tone of their voice, and upwards of 55% is attributed to their facial expressions.